Good afternoon and welcome to SUTV Live. We're live inside our Bramall Lane studio for today's top-of-the-table clash against Watford. Last week was a tough one for the Blades. Today, though, another day, so can they bounce back at Bramall Lane? In today's show, we'll cover the past, the present and the future. We'll be reviewing last Saturday's tricky trip to Millwall, delving into the SUTV Live archives and discussing today's opponents with views from Paul Heckingbottom and Tommy Doyle. We'll also have an SUTV Live exclusive with James McAtee and take a look at how the under-23s are doing. It really is a jam-packed show, so please stay with us as kickoff now is just under an hour away. And for all the match pass information and broadcasting regulations for today's game, go to the website sufc.co.uk. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Bramall Lane, another intriguing match, a big one, an important one. And I'm joined in the studio today by Kevin Gage. Good afternoon, Kevin.
Good afternoon, John.
And also by Brian Dean. Now, boys, this is a big one, isn't it? There's a lot on the line here. They really need to be bouncing back after last week.
Yeah, absolutely. You get the feeling it could be a turning point game, couldn't it? A good performance and a good victory. I think it sets us up for the rest of the season.
Brian, before I get your views on what might be needed today, we've got to show you a little bit of something from back in 1997-98. Watford in the League Cup, a 4-0 win for the Blades, and Brian Dean on the score sheet. And here comes the first goal. Any thoughts about that? How did you get away with that?
I mean, come
That's
on,
an
man.
assault.
Yeah, by the goalie on me. You know what I mean?
What do you reckon, Kevin?
Well, I mean, it's a sending off offence, I think.
Yeah, I think
lucky to stay on the pitch.
I think the goalie's looking to stay on the pitch as well there.
Now, that's a goal as well.
Dane Whitehouse, great player, unfortunate. His career was cut short. Yeah, superb player Dane was. Great playing with him.
And you've got to fault the keeper there, surely. I mean, he hasn't got across quick enough there, has he?
I don't think he's recovered from the first goal I scored, to be honest.
Still groggy as you rifle it into the far corner.
Yeah, softened him up nicely.
I'll tell you what, we wouldn't mind a repeat of these, though, would we? We'd take that all day long.
Nice.
That's a strike, isn't it?
There you go. There's Dane again. You know, Dane was a top player, and he was destined for great things. And you know, Dane was very loyal to the club at the time. You know, he had opportunities to leave, and he stayed. And you know, unfortunately, it was in my second spell. I was actually playing in that game against Port Vale, and you know, it was a terrible challenge. And yeah, it's sad. You know, when you see a player of Dane's calibre with his career cut short like that, and the adjustments that you have to make, you know, as an individual, it's really been a really sad, you know, way to finish a career.
Yeah, I mean, people talk, don't they, about the money that players earn and all the rest of it. And yeah, the rewards can be great, but but there's also always that bottom line that it can all be over like that.
Absolutely.
Now, we're setting the scene for United against Watford this afternoon, and I think we've got the team news which we can bring you. This is the Sheffield United lineup, and 3 changes there. John Fleck coming in for Tommy Doyle, Iliman Ndiaye for Danny Jebison, and an L coming in for Chris Basham. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, well, obviously, Ndiaye was always going to come back into the side. We know that. And the same could be said for Armahodic. I mean, Basham did okay, but Armahodic is a far better defender and better player. And from a Sheffield United point of view, I think every single fan out there will be delighted to see John Fleck back in the lineup, because I think we've missed him really, as well as McAtee and Doyle and others have done in there. I think John Fleck has got the experience and the class to do the job on that left-hand side. And for me, that kind of central unit, going right the way through the side now, but certainly in midfield with Fleck, Norwood, Sanderberg, that's our strongest midfield 3 without a shadow of a doubt.
Let's see him performing today, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the team, and I'm thinking that's probably the strongest team in terms of experience. You know, we reach a time now in this game today that this is very pivotal. You know, we've had 2 bad results. You know, let's not make no mistakes. We've seen the performances dip a little bit. But now you're talking about a team and you're asking players to step up, you know, all the way through the team. Watford are no mugs, are they?
No, good side, yeah.
And no shocks we don't expect about the way in which United are going to line up. This is the tried and tested formation, I guess, Kenneth.
Yeah, as I was talking about just a second ago, and I think that central core of the team is probably the strongest we could field at any one time. Yes, you could make a case for putting Clark in for Robinson. I personally prefer Robinson. I think he's done fantastically well, and I think he brings a little bit of grit and fight and desire to the team. He lifts the crowd, especially with his long throws. So I think the only thing you could make an argument for is maybe swapping the wing backs over, you know, Baldock, Bogle, and on the left hand side Lowe's got the shirt at the moment because Ender Stevens is injured, Norrington Davis injured, but I think that the central spine of the team is as good as we can put out.
So you know, I mean, you made just a bit of a reference to it there, Brian. This is kind of a pivotal afternoon potentially.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think from a point of view, you look at it psychologically. You know, at one point we were looking at Burnley on their shoulder, and everybody else was in the distance. And very quickly, it's all come together. And I think that what we need 3 points today. We get 3 points today, and then, for me, a little bit of the pressure comes off. But if we don't get 3 points, if that gap continues to close, then that'll just give the closing pack a little bit of inspiration. And that's what you don't need at this time of the season is critical, because you start, you know, it's like on a downward slope now. We're kind of, everybody's getting momentum towards the end of the season, and we don't want to be the one who's pulling up lame.
Well, I'm sure the players are going to be only too well aware of the real need for a top performance. They're getting ready now in the dressing rooms as the clock ticks down towards that 3 o'clock kickoff. And as the players were arriving, we got the chance to have a quick word with Ollie McBurney.
Ollie, another big game in the Sky Bet Championship. How's everyone feeling coming into this game against Watford?
Excited, mate, yeah. It's been a couple of games that we've not really been at it, so we've been itching at it to get it and put things right.
We're aware of the fine margins in the Championship, so what do you need to do different today that perhaps wasn't there in the last 2 games?
Score more than them and concede less. I think, you know, we've, especially in the second half against Millwall, it was a lot more like us, and then, you know, probably sloppy and individual errors maybe have cost us games, so we cut them out. You know, we scored 2 in that game. You know, you score 2 good goals away from home, you should win a game really. So yeah, cut out the sloppiness and be more threatening in attack, and that should do the job.
How much are you looking forward to rekindling that relationship with Iliman Ndiaye this afternoon?
Definitely, yeah. No, I love playing with Illy. It's been a bit stop-start, obviously, you know, with injuries and stuff, but you know, he's a hell of a player, so I love every time I get to play with him, and hopefully we can get back to what we was doing before the World Cup today.
3 in your last 5, how close are you to where you want to be at this moment in time?
Yeah, I played 2 90 minutes last week, obviously, so that was good on a personal level for me to be able to get through them games, and you know, this week's been good in terms of preparation. I had a full week to get myself right, so I'm pretty much there.
And the squad's looking really strong at the moment. John Fleck coming back in and Billy Sharp on the bench today.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think you can see the quality and depth we've had, and you know, to have the team that we've had while a few of the boys have been out, and now everyone's coming back in, it's going to give us that extra little push to get us where we want to be at the end of the season.
Go well today, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
So, man, cheers on.
Going to be good to see Ollie and Iliman hopefully linking well together up front and hopefully having one of their top afternoons. Well, they need to bounce back, the Blades, after that defeat against Millwall at the New Den last weekend. Here are the highlights of that match.
And we are underway with Millwall kicking from right to left as we look in their traditional home strip of dark blue, Sheffield United in white. Here's Burke. Now Bradshaw. And Bradshaw finds the back of the net this time. Millwall cutting through Sheffield United. Tom Bradshaw fires it in at the near post. Millwall made a really bright start, and they now have the lead. It's going to be Doyle. Over the wall, decent hit, and it's in! United needed some inspiration, and Tommy Doyle has given it to them. Long got a hand to it, but it's found its way through, and Sheffield United are back on level terms. Oh, nicely done by Fleming. He's away from Basham. Vogelsammer. Fleming's gone down the area. Bradshaw's header, and he's crept in. His second of the game. When Sheffield United were on top, it's Millwall who hit back, and Bradshaw's header makes it 2-1 to the hosts. Corner. Away by Cooper. Bogle. Taking it around Honeyman. Bogle cuts it back. McAtee! McAtee! Yes! McAtee scores! United have found something, and it's the substitute, James McAtee. Great composure, and he rifled it into the roof of the net. It's 2 apiece. Looking at bringing Duncan Watmore on Millwall. Vogelsammer. Chance on the goal, and a hat-trick for Bradshaw. Again, it comes against a run of play. United caught out. Again, Vogelsammer, the creator, and Bradshaw couldn't miss. Millwall back in front again.
And after the match, manager Paul Heckingbottom gave us his reaction.
Yeah, they were on top. They were quicker to every ball. We looked like that team that had played Wednesday night. We looked like that team that had travelled and still in his beds in the hotel. That's what we looked like. Yeah, so they were first to every ball, just played direct, then they dropped on the second balls. And when we did withstand that, because we had to withstand it, you know, we were still rushed with the ball and didn't hurt them. So, yeah, we had to make a lot of changes in the second half, and we did it. And that's what hurts me, because that's difficult to do, to wrestle momentum back in a game where, in my eyes, we were nowhere near how we want to play in the first half. So we'd done that. We'd done the hard work.
Is it especially tough to take, because I guess when you get the 2 equalisers, when you're actually watching the game, you're thinking you've got a chance to go on and win this now, but they kept coming back, didn't they, Millwall? We give them, and this is my thing, I think, with me. I'm going to watch a game, and you reflect on how you speak and how you do with the players as well. And listen, we had to go after them, and we needed a response second half. But with that, did we lose that little bit of composure? Because we got back 2-2 and we take a quick free kick. There was no need. I think the second goal, we should bring him down on the halfway line. There's a couple of silly fouls. So do we lose that composure? You know, we'll see. But even to the third goal is they get a free kick in their half, and they have more men than us around our box, and we know they're going long to Cooper. So yeah, that's the frustrating bit, you know. That's the frustrating bit. So yeah, we did have to inject some energy into the game and take risks and be more aggressive and on the front foot, but not at the expense of doing the correct things.
Well, Kevin and Brian with me in the studio today, and it was frustrating, wasn't it? Because I mean, United were always chasing the game, having conceded so early.
Yeah, I mean, Hecky mentioned it twice there. It's quite interesting. He used those exact words, didn't he? Frustrated, and you can sense his frustration in that talk as well, because I think he must be pulling his hair out, because I don't think we did an awful lot wrong last week. We weren't at the races first half, but second half we were so far on top of that game. It was criminal that we didn't get anything out of it, to be honest. Just sloppy defensive play, you know, letting them back into the game. But I hope, and I'm sure he will have emphasised to the players this week, you know, we haven't turned into a bad side just because we've lost 2 games. Of course we haven't. The players are experienced enough to know that anyway. But I think he's got to accentuate the positives and build on that second half performance where we were actually all over them, to be honest.
Yeah, it looked as though they got the draw, didn't they? I mean, they, to come, as Kevin says, to come away with nothing must have really hurt.
Yeah, it did, but you know, for me, that could potentially be a huge lesson in terms of us not taking things for granted. I can't believe that Paul would have not told them about how Millwall would have started last season. So I think last week. So I do believe that the players will have to take that one on the chin, because it's a very intimidating place. But you know, coming out of it into the second half, we did show a lot of fight. But we were, you can't go into games now not being aware of how important it is to start in the first 10 minutes.
If they conceded once in 4 games, was it, prior to the last 2, now 6 in 2? I mean, what lessons can be taken from that? I mean, it's all very well to say we've not suddenly become a bad defensive team overnight. So let's look at what we've done for the rest of the season. But 6 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, but you have to take an overview of it, don't you? You have to look at the season as a whole, and we're still a very good defensive unit. Now, there's been we had a run of games where we just had clean sheet after clean sheet away from home and picking up wins as well. So perhaps in some of those games, we probably would have let in a goal or two. So I think it probably averages out over the course of a season. I'm sure that people like Egan and Basham last week, and even Robinson for one of the goals where he let his man get off him, they'll look at that and think, we've got to tighten up a bit, and they know what they will have to do to get that defensive solidity back.
Well, as a result of all that, this is how the Championship table looks as we go into today's matches. United still second, but now 12 points adrift of Burnley, and looking just a little bit nervously over their shoulders as the pack suddenly closes in. It's amazing how quickly it can change with a couple of adverse results.
Absolutely, and that's why I've got to say I'm a little bit nervous about today's game. We've at one stage we were right up there with Burnley, and then all of a sudden, we've been dropped a little bit, and I think we really need, we need to win this game. I'll be a lot more comfortable if we not only have a good performance, but the win is the most important thing rather than the performance.
And there's an argument, is there not? I mean, we'll look at this in more detail later on, but there's an argument that Watford have underperformed so far this season. They're a better team than a team in 7th, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Actually, they've got lots of good individual players, but some of them are a bit hit and miss, and I think that reflects in the whole team itself. They should. Everybody expected them to be right up there, challenging, with the likes of Burnley and us, and they have underperformed a bit. Certainly, if you go back to the first game of the season, they looked very, very good in the first game of the season, and we weren't really at the races. I mean, that's testament to how good a team and how good a squad we've actually developed into. That we're however many points in front of them, 11, 12 points in front of them. If we'd said that after the first game of the season, we'd have all been ridiculously happy with that.
Promoted already, wouldn't we?
Yeah. So we've come a long, long way, and there's still a long way to go, of course.
Now you know that one or two of the people watching now are going to be listening to your pearls of wisdom and maybe having a little investment on the possible outcome of the match. This is the recent form of United, and here you see it was going all so well until those last 2 performances, the 3-1 and 3-2 defeats.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been sat in these chairs and we've been, the form that we've produced all the way up through the season until those last 2 games has been astounding. It really has been. Some of the football's been brilliant, hasn't it, Kevin?
Yeah.
And Kevin's right, actually. Let's not turn around now and say that, it's going to be the end of the world. It's not. But, I think it's always important now that we've got some big players in that side now, and they have to step up, and all of them need to be captains from here on in.
Well, let's hope that today is going to be the day when they can do that, because we're back at home today. And for those of you who may not know, Sheffield United has a sensory room located on the John Street family stand here at Bramall Lane. The sensory room has been designed to help encourage and support those wishing to attend Bramall Lane who've got additional sensory needs, such as hypersensitivity to loud noises, bright lights and overcrowded spaces. Well, in this video coming up, as part of the Level Playing Fields Unite for Access campaign, we see what the room has to offer to promote a positive, inclusive experience for all disabled sports fans.
So I'm John Elliwell, I'm the Support Liaison and Disability Access Manager here at Sheffield United. And we have a really good working relationship with Level Playing Field. They are a registered sports charity who work towards promoting awareness and inclusivity, particularly for disabled sports fans across the country, to make accessing football matches more inclusive for everyone. As a football club, we're constantly striving to be better and to make Bramall Lane more accessible for all supporters. And as part of that, obviously the sensory room was a really big piece for us. So around 18 months ago now, we launched our sensory room, and we must have seen over 100 families visit it already. It's been a real important project for us as a football club to improve our accessibility, particularly for those families with children with autism, ADHD, any children that have hypersensitivity to light, sound, noise. So it's been a real key feature for us to allow families to be able to come and access Bramall Lane.
It's just such a big safety net, isn't it, for them to have that enjoyment like every other child or adult experiences.
We wouldn't have had this as a family, this pleasure, without that sensory room. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it has, you know, we talk about Sheffield United, we're talking about them coming up. They're really interested in it. You know, they have got a favourite player. They call him Sandy Burger, but, you know, it's not called that. But, you know, and they wouldn't have had this pleasure. And it's another pleasure in the, you know, in the complicated life, really. And it's fantastic.
Sandy Burger, I love it. But we were just having a chat while we were watching that between us, and I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it, Brian, the way football's moved on and is really making a positive effort to make the sport more inclusive and to help those with problems.
Absolutely. I think the term sport for all was, you know, it was something that we all grew up with. But this really does mean inclusivity, because I think that, you know, there's kind of like a wider spectrum that we look at about when we talk about inclusivity. You know, it's not just about colour, religion, you know, it's disability as well. And everybody deserves the opportunity to go to a game or to have the same enjoyment out of you know, a community club like Sheffield United.
And as we heard there, literally hundreds of families being helped.
Yeah, it's very good to hear about, isn't it? You don't usually get to hear about stuff like that. We see the box in the corner over there. Nobody quite knows what it is, but it's good to find out a little bit more about it.
Yeah, brilliant indeed. And I'm sure that those who come along are tremendously enjoying what they're seeing and looking forward to some of the big matches coming up that, of course, we're very much anticipating. Sheffield United against Tottenham Hotspur on Wednesday, the 1st of March. That's the FA Cup match, and that's a 7:55 kickoff. Blackburn on the 4th, Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. We're going to be on air from 12 p.m, setting the scene for that one. And then Reading on Tuesday, the 7th of March. That's another evening kickoff, an 8 p.m. kickoff, and we'll be on air from 7 o'clock. Well, now, with the time at about, less than half an hour away from kickoff for United against Watford, it's time to go back again into the archives and look at one of our classic matches. And we're going back nearly 30 years to relive United's 3-0 triumph over Watford here at Bramall Lane. Goals from Jostein Flo, and 2, including a stunner from outside the box from Mitch Ward, sealed 3 points. Oh, and you might also, if you watch very carefully, catch a glimpse of Kevin Gage.
Mitch Ward strikes this one beautifully. It's taken away from Flo. Hodges wins it back. He stepped over that and pushed a lovely ball out for Rodgers. Rodgers, fine ball in, and there's the first goal of the season for Jostein Flo. Took it beautifully, and it was set up wonderfully well by Paul Rodgers. Just below that barren John Street side of the field. Driven forward into the penalty area by Nielsen. Flo stepped over it. Here's Ward. Oh yes! Mitch Ward strikes a burler, and the Blades are 2-0 ahead. And that was some finish. Well, it was dumped into the box long and deep. Flo didn't quite get there, but he'd made the gap for Mitch Ward. And just look at that finish. That's unstoppable. New seats just behind that Bramall Lane end for the free kick to be delivered. Oh, and it's played wisely to the edge of the area. Ward steadies himself, and it's his second. Oh, yes. That's a magic strike. Took Watford completely by surprise and knocked the stuffing out of them. Played beautifully out to him. First touch was perfect, and the finish was just unstoppable. The keeper got a hand to it. There was no way he could prevent that one. There's Mitch Ward again. Without doubt the key man in this game. Nielsen carries it forward and delivers it in there, and Flo to have a chance with a header. And there is the final whistle. United never really moving out of third gear, and a comprehensive victory.
3-0 to the Blades. We could do with more of that today. And looking at the recording of that match those years back, it brings back memories of the old John Street stand, which was famous, one of the great early stands of English football. But at that time, it had been taken down, hadn't it? So you'd got an empty side.
Yeah, for the whole of that season, we played without a stand on that side. Yeah, which is quite weird. I remember it very well because Bassett and the coaching staff actually moved the dugout to that side of the pitch. So usually you can kind of sometimes the manager's shouts are drowned out by the crowd, but over the other side you could hear everything he was saying. So all the screams and the shouts and the rollickings, yeah, clear as a bell.
That old stand, I mean, there used to be terracing down in front of the seats, didn't they, running along the length of the pitch. And I can remember as a little kid going along and watching the old Central League fixtures there, going and watching the reserves just to prove I am a Blade.
Okay.
Anyway, that's memories of time gone by. But what about the future? Let's take a look now at the current under-23 team and how they got on Monday in the derby match against Sheffield Wednesday.
So we're underway then in this Professional Development League clash. Took a little stumble there, but he's regained his composure. Found Fleck, goes for the return. He's got the return, Jilly Bayabu. It's a decent ball in. Good chance and a really good stop from Adam Davis. That's the first time that either goalkeeper has been called into action. Clark into the penalty area. Kieran Clark, can he get a cross in? Well defended again by Wednesday. They've saved the corner as well. Hackford, great play from Hackford. Then Koulibaly takes over. First shot on target from Sheffield United, and it's held. There is a half-time whistle. Sheffield United 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0 in the Steel City derby. And Marsh then is taken out of it. The Blades have a free kick in a decent position. It's going to be taken by Koulibaly. Starbuck. Get the ball well, Hackford. Koulibaly. Clark onto Fleck. Now a bit of room. Fleck measures the cross. Chance here for Marsh. And there's the breakthrough. Louis Marsh, the scorer. Pinpoint cross from John Fleck. And United's patience pays off as Marsh heads in. A 16th goal of the season. Marsh with a nice dummy. Hackford back to Marsh. Might leave it here for Kieran Clark. Now they're going to break on with Brooks. Hackford to his right. Brooks might go it alone here. Bayabu for support too. Jilly Bayabu. And shoots, and it's well held. And there is the final whistle. Sheffield United take the South Yorkshire derby spoils.
Always good to beat the old enemy, and United winning 1-0. And Louis Marsh, the man with his name on the score sheet, and afterwards he gave us his reaction to his part.
Well, Marsh, it was Hillsborough first time around. Bramall Lane today, another goal against Sheffield Wednesday, another goal for you this season. Just sum that one up.
Yeah, special feeling, like I said. Scoring at this place is, being a Boyle Blade, it's amazing. This ground's unbelievable, and playing here, I cherish it every time, and getting a goal today, it's brilliant.
It was a similar game to Hillsborough, wasn't it? It was 0-0 at the break. We had to be patient. Obviously, the red card, they banked up a little bit. they're the lessons that you need to learn at this stage. It wasn't always going to happen in the first 5-10 minutes like it does some games. You had to be patient, and then that moment of quality came in the end between you and Flecky.
Yeah, great ball by Flecky. Obviously, you know, I've had a sniff up there, and I know what he's like. I know he can put a good ball in the box. But yeah, like I said, playing against 10 men, it's tough, really tough. But you know, like you said, staying patient's brilliant for us. Play it out wide, get balls in the box. You know, that's what we really want as a striker, really. But yeah, they made it tough for us, really tough. We know what they were like. But yeah, like I said, 1-0, great goal.
Yeah, another diving header as well. Second one in a week. We don't see many of them from you, but it's been coming in the last couple of weeks. That's something you've been working on?
Not really, to be fair. I'm normally not the best at headers, really. You know, shy out of it sometimes. But like I said, you know, when I'm a striker and balls are going in the box, I've got to put my head on that. Yeah, great ball by Flecky, and yeah. It's
another goal, so you're still the top scorer in the Professional Development League. Obviously, last season in the 18s, you were more the creator with Will Lancashire and Theo Williams ahead of you. Today, this season, obviously, you've gone up front. What's been the secret to the goal-scoring form? Because it's every single week at the minute.
Yeah, it's a good question. Reviewing myself, I think a lot, reflecting on myself. You know, last season weren't the best for me. Like I said, I was creator, but getting surgery is not very nice. You know, everyone's had ups and downs in their career. But yeah, just reviewing. Cads has been good with me. You know, shooting sessions in the morning. That's what I've got to try and get good at. Scoring goals were a bit bad last season. But like I said, yeah, I've just got to keep going, really. Scoring goals is what I'm good at and what I like to do. You know, every goal feels unbelievable, but here's a special place to get a goal at.
That's Louis Marsh, and it really does look, Brian and Kevin, as though we've got a very good crop of young players.
Yeah, it's another one off the production line, isn't it? He's clearly a talented kid. His goal record speaks for itself. He scored goals, you know, at every level he's played, so that doesn't come by accident. So he obviously knows where the goal is, and he sounds like he can be creative as well. So he's a bit of a midfield, bit of an all-rounder.
Manager's good at working with young players, isn't he, Paul? I mean, he's got a reputation of knowing that, and it's continuing here.
Yeah, I mean, that's Paul's background. You know, he was he was I think he was at youth at Barnsley as well, wasn't he? And then he's come here and done a great job. So, look, I mean, for me, I always think that the future of a club is how good they can develop young players, and you know how attractive they can make a club to all the best young talent in that area. I think that's your staple before you start going out and spending money. So it's important to get the right people in who can develop young talent in the area and make them understand how important it is to be part of the club.
And he and his coaching staff will have them working to assist them. So hopefully, when they make the transition to the senior team, they slip in relatively
that's the idea. It should be the same ethos running all the way through the club. Yeah, right from the youth teams to the 18s to the 23s, and eventually in the first team. That's the plan, isn't it? Yeah. So they're all coached in that way.
Well, eventually they'll want to be in the first team, and the first team this afternoon for the match against Watford, kicking off at 3 o'clock. And this is the way that United line up, with 3 changes, Kevin.
Yeah, the changes we expected, as we mentioned earlier, and Jai is always going to come back in the side. Of course he was. You know, he's the real link between our midfield and our strikers, and he does such an important job. And we are so reliant on him, to be honest, to create things for us. He's due a goal as well, isn't he? So I think he'd like to get on the score sheet this afternoon. And the big news for everybody connected with Sheffield United is to see John Fleck back and raring to go. And I think actually he will be chomping at the bit. He's been out a long time now, and we all know his quality. And I think he'll just fit into that left-sided role in the midfield and bring a lot of strength and determination and energy and just class to our team.
And the lineup, the formation, Brian, it's pretty much tried and tested, isn't it? You know, United fans know what to expect, and this is the lineup and the men who hopefully are going to deliver.
Yeah, it's pretty much the staple formation of the club and has been for the last couple of years. I think the midfield 3 are probably as good as any midfield in the league, and also it's very well balanced. You've got a left footer, a right footer, and you've got a sitter. But they've also got different strengths. You know, you've got Sander, who's got a lot of mobility. He's big. He's the one who's going to get forward quickly. You know, Flecky's more of somebody who's just going to sit in there. You know, he can deliver short passes, long passes, and good vision. And then Ollie Norwood is the one who's got the wider range of passing, and he's the one who sets, you know, the tempo really.
Well, time we looked in more depth, I suppose, at Watford, who we know are going to be difficult this afternoon. A good side, maybe a little bit underachieving so far this year, but you see coming into it with a decent run of results, including a very good win during the week over West Brom.
Yeah, very important result for them midweek. They were slipping out of that top six, so they're there or thereabouts there. And the one that stands out obviously is going to Burnley and getting a draw. Burnley are obviously flying, so to come to go to Turf Moor and get a point there would have been a real fillip for them.
Also, I mean, the performance against West Brom, it was nip and tuck right the way, and they showed a lot of spirit to come through that and take 3 points.
They're a bit hit and miss, Watford. We mentioned earlier in the show that they've underperformed a bit this season. They've got so many good quality players, individually good, that on their day will cause real problems for lots of teams. But they're a bit, as I say, they're a bit hit and miss. Sometimes they're not quite on their game, and some of these star players don't actually perform.
Well, let's have a look at the Watford lineup. This is the Watford team who are going to be playing here at Bramall Lane this afternoon. And no huge surprises there. Who are the guys who we're going to be watching out for? They've got a lot of really good players on their day.
They've got some very, very talented individuals. Yeah, the focal point for them is the number 7, Keenan Davis. He was at Aston Villa, he was at Forest. He's just a big target man, but he's awkward and he causes problems. So I don't think him individually is going to hurt us, but all the other players who work off him have got the potential to do just that, like João Pedro, Ken Sema and Ismail Sarr. You've got 3 players there, very, very quick, loads of ability, technically very, very good. You know, on their day, as I say, they can create havoc for lots of defences.
A lot of pace.
Yeah,
loads of pace. Yeah.
For me, the danger is when you've got players like that up front, it means that your wing backs can't go forward as quickly, so we could quite easily end up playing 5 at the back, you know, just so that we don't go, you know, get in a 1v1 situation, which, you know, is a little bit worrying for me because, like we said, you know, Kevin said it, they have got a lot on their day. They have got players who can hurt you, and we don't want to find ourselves in that situation. So for me, the midfield 3 for us have got to control the game. That's where the game is going to be won and lost for us.
Well, we had a little look at the personnel and pulled out some players to really watch for in that Watford lineup. Talk us through these, Kevin. Wesley Hoot, Hamza Chowdhury, Ken Sema, who got man of the match against West Brom in the midweek match. Ismail Sarr and João Pedro.
Yeah, we've mentioned the Sema, Pedro and Sarr. Sarr is absolutely lightning quick, isn't he?
Rapid.
I mean, he can catch pigeons. He really can. So we've got to be ultra careful of him. And so the defenders, like Hodic is decent. He's quick though. So that'll be a good foot race, to be honest. You don't want people like Robinson or Egan to get in a foot race with one of them.
It's just not. You know, it's like you're absolutely right. It's just. Organisation is going to be so key at the back there. You know, we cannot afford to have the gaps that we did last week. You know, people have got to shuffle across, you know, and close those gaps down. When you've got pace, like they've said, and it's like, it's not just one, they're all quick. You know, if you leave those gaps, we're going to have problems today.
Hopefully there won't be similarities with the Middlesbrough game, because the Middlesbrough game we were stretched, weren't we? Yeah. And they kept finding those spaces, and they had the players Middlesbrough to hit us at pace, going straight through the middle of our defence. So we do need to tighten it all up in there.
Well, they've done the homework, won't they? I mean, the Watford coaching staff will have studied those matches closely, and they'll know exactly where potentially the holes are in the United lineup.
Which is all the more reason to bring John Fleck back in, because it's just much stronger in that midfield 3 with Fleck in there. McAtee's done brilliant when he's been in the side, but he's a completely different player to John Fleck. You know, McAtee is fantastic when you're on top and you're going forward, or you want to get a goal back and just pushing men forward to create. But Flecky will be more solid.
Yeah, John Fleck will be more disciplined as well. You know, he will have been there, seen it, done it. And I also think that, you know, at times they might need a double screen in front of in front of the back three, which means that Fleck will just not come in here. It might give a little bit more freedom to Sander Berg to link up with McBurney and Iliman Jai as well.
Well, you mentioned the name there of James McAtee, and it's really been a season of development for him, and despite some early setbacks, some teething problems, if you like, he didn't slot in straight away, but he really has become an absolutely crucial part of this year's United promotion campaign.
Yeah, I was disappointed no matter what. We wanted to win, obviously, but we couldn't keep hold of it, and we just have to bounce on to the next one now.
On a personal level, how pleased are you with your recent contributions?
Yeah, I'm happy with myself for getting some goals and assists, but I just want to have some more consistency in some of the games, and I'll just keep pushing from now on.
Lots of games coming up, of course, at this time of the season, which therefore brings lots of opportunities and maybe a bit of squad rotation. So with opportunities coming up, how important is it for you to take those chances now?
Yeah, of course. Some of the lads are getting back now, so the team's getting bigger. So when everyone's out there, they're all trying their best to try and stay in the team.
Looking at your performances, how would you break down the season from the start to now, and looking ahead to the end of the campaign?
I think it's quite obvious how I've improved. I've got used. I'm getting more used to the physical part of the game, and just learning my job better and better each game.
Was that for you the toughest part of the championship, trying to adjust to the physical aspect?
Yeah, 100%. I think at the start I was pretty shocked by the physicality, and it threw me back a little bit. But I'm pleased with myself for getting back on my feet, and I'm working hard.
I think it's fair to say your all-round game has really come on. So what kind of work have you done in the background with the staff to try and take it to that next level?
Well, at the start of the season it was very clear what I needed to improve, and the staff in training helped me every day, and they're continuing to help me and trying to make me a better player.
And do you still think there's more to come this season from James McAtee?
I really hope so, yeah. I really hope so.
Looking ahead then to next couple of games. First of all, a home game against Watford. Another really tough game, but a great challenge that I'm sure everyone's relishing.
I think every game's a tough game now. Every game's a big game, and I think all the lads will give it 100% in each of the games.
And I know that the Watford game is the priority, but obviously there's a cup game on the rise as well against Tottenham, which everyone must be looking forward to as well.
Of course everyone's looking forward to it, but our head's on Watford, try and get the 3 points and a good performance.
James McAtee, a very grounded young man, isn't he? And you hear him speak with maybe maturity beyond his years, and it's been good to see the way in which he's matured as a player this season.
Yeah, I remember seeing him the first time I saw him. I thought, it's just, he's this little kid. But you always know that he's going to have the pedigree coming from Manchester City, and just to say the way how he's toughened up this year, I mean that's a loan market working for the big clubs, loaning players like him, and we can all see that he's got great quality as well. He's been superb for me whenever he's in bits, when he showed us what he can do.
Yeah, he's fitted in really well.
Yeah, he's grown, hasn't he? He's grown as a person and as a footballer as well. I mean, when he's in full flight, he's brilliant. I mean, you can see he's got Man City quality written all over him. And the way he glides past people with the ball. We've talked about the Watford players being lightning quick. He's quick with the ball. There's a difference, isn't there?
Yeah.
He manoeuvres the ball and he drags it around his body. Fantastic ability. And I think when he goes back to Man City, I think he'll make a bit of an impact. You see lots of youngsters at Man City will just fade away and get sent out, the transfers, and you don't hear too much of them. I actually think he's got enough ability to make his presence felt in that team.
You could see him really becoming one of the leading lights.
In a couple of years, definitely, yeah. I think he's maturing, he's filling out as well. I think he's still only 19, 20, is he? Something like that. So he's still going to get a bit stronger as the years grow.
And Tommy Doyle as well, looking to also move his career on.
Yeah, again, he's come in and done wonderfully well as well. So we've been the beneficiary of a couple of very good youngsters who have perhaps gone under the radar, but coming here has suited them because we are a good side for them to make that progress in their development. So it's good to see, isn't it, that a club like Manchester City are going to loan their players to Sheffield United.
And a manager who clearly enjoys working with young talents and has experience in bringing young talent through. Well, Tommy Doyle's actually going to be on the bench today, but during the week we got the chance to speak to him, and he said it had been very good to have been back on the score sheet.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I like to score and assist and try and contribute. You know, I have said before that I can contribute a lot more, and yeah, hopefully I can keep doing that now. But you know, ultimately for me, we lost the game, so you know the goal is nice, but it doesn't really mean anything, you know, because we didn't win the game. So yeah, nice to score. Obviously, I want to contribute more and try and help the team as much as possible. So yeah, from now, hopefully, I keep adding numbers.
In the youth ranks, as you've developed your career, were you much of a goal scorer? Because obviously, a couple of goals last season at Cardiff. I think you scored in Germany, didn't you? But is that something that's sort of waiting to come out in the senior levels?
Yeah, definitely. I think the majority of my contributions have been assists. I should score a lot more, definitely. You know, I think obviously a lot of my goals do come from set pieces, dead ball situations, which, I mean, I've only had one so far. But yeah, I think in open play I should, you know, contribute a lot more, and it's something that I'm working on with Jack, the manager, Stu, to obviously improve on that. So yeah.
Watford then the next challenge. Well, another fancied team, aren't they? Just underneath the playoff pack, as it were. What do you make of them right now?
Yeah, they're a good side. You know, they have good individuals, good strength. So, you know, for us again, it's just focusing on ourselves, and you know, if we do what we do best and prepare and do everything correctly, then you know I'm confident that we should come away with the 3 points. So, you know, it's on us to perform. Yeah, so we're just going to obviously keep working and hopefully put things that we've not done as well right.
Well, that's the thoughts of Tommy Doyle, and of course we hope very much that you're going to be able to stay with us right the way through the afternoon and enjoy the match, Sheffield United against Watford, and there are the broadcast regulations for this match. So assuming you want to watch, and please do, get onto sufc.co.uk and all the information will be there to tell you exactly how to go about watching this game. Now, Kevin Gage is going to be hot-footing it to the commentary position and joining Matt Young to give us a blow-by-blow of the action as it happens. What are you anticipating, Kevin?
I'm anticipating a very, very good game of football, I have to say. Two good sides. I think it will be fast-paced and it will be good to watch for the neutral. I don't think there's many neutrals around, but it will be a good game. Are you asking me to who I want to win or expect to win?
Stick your neck out.
Yes, yeah. Who do you want to win?
I think we will prevail, but I think it's going to be a struggle. Last week we said that there might be a hangover in the Millwall game, and there was all through the first half. I think today it's completely different. I think the team has had a full week's training. They'll have got over Millwall. That's got done and dusted now, and I think we'll be flying out the blocks this afternoon, and it'll be a fast tempo start.
Yeah, let's hope so, and let's hope it's a United win and no hangovers. We don't want to see any hangovers whatsoever. Anyway, enjoy, and we'll talk no doubt a little bit later on. Now, in the build-up to the action here this afternoon, of course, Paul Heckingbottom faced the press, and this was how he anticipated today's match.
Yeah, I think one thing you have to understand about Watford is how dangerous they are, and they've got players who can produce big moments, and that's probably the biggest compliment I can pay them, because that is it. That's what we have to be wary of. They're going to have big moments, going to have moments in the game. We have to be able to deal with that and then impose ourselves on them when we have the ball as well. So, yeah, regardless how the game's going, at any moment, we know they're going to be dangerous.
And perhaps most, prominently with them. I mean, Sheffield United this year have been really good at locking down their opponents, haven't they? It perhaps is particularly necessary this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. They've got a big threat on the counter, like I said, players with big moments who, even if you set defensively, can produce moments to create chances. And like I said, we've got to limit that and make sure that if any of those moments do come around, we're still doing the right things, you know. And if they're good enough then to create things, fair play to them. But I'd still back us if we get the things right and more things right than wrong, that we can make it difficult for anyone.
Well, there's Paul Heckingbottom, and of course he'll be in the dressing room with the players who are going to be coming out onto the pitch very soon. Brian, what sort of a rallying cry do you think he's going to be giving? What are the final points he'll be making?
I think he'll just be reiterating the jobs now. You know, there's not really... This is a time where the manager has to be calm when he's delivering any messages to the players. Otherwise, you know, you've got to set the tone yourself. And it'll just be final messages. I'm sure he's told them that if they do their jobs, you know, we should come out on top. But for me, the start is very important again, especially against a side like this. You know, picture paints 1,000 words, and in the first 10 minutes, we'll know whether or not that speech before the game has done its job or not, you know.
Well, let's hope so, and let's hope that the crowd are really up for it as well, because, you know, I mean, everybody, we're sitting here a bit nervous, having watched 2 defeats. We're a bit nervous about what's going to happen. So what about the crowd? You know, I mean, let's hope that they're right behind United, and there's a bit of greasy chip butty singing beforehand, and they're up for it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, that's what that first 10 minutes is about. You know, if the team come out and start the right way, the crowd will get behind them, you know, and you know, let's be honest, Watford will be coming out trying to silence us. So it's a little bit of a game in the head, first 10 minutes in a game like this. We've just got to keep things compact. We can't give the Watford's front line any sort of like any optimism in this. You know, we've got to really jump on top of this game for me, because we need to keep it a compact game. You know, but I'm hopeful, you know, but I'm going to say that, you know, after the last 2 games, I'm here and I want to see how we start. That's going to tell me a lot in the beginning.
And the key players, I mean, you've pointed towards that midfield who are going to have to be right at their best today, and the lads at the back coping with the extreme pace of the Watford forwards.
Well, absolutely. I think that because of the results, the last 2 results, I think there will be, and rightly so, a lot of scrutiny on the back 3. And so from that point of view, I'm sure they've done a lot of work this week. But, you know, there's captains in there. You know, those 3 guys at the back will understand, you know, their responsibilities today. So it's a case of let's get the communication right between the 2 banks of 3, and then from there we can look to go forward.
So you're going for a United win, presumably, but with a few caveats and worries that it could be a tough afternoon.
Could be a bit of a roller coaster ride today, John.
Right, well, we'll settle back. We'll enjoy it, because the players are due out very soon, and indeed here they come. So it's time to join our commentary team this afternoon, and the voices of Kevin Gage, and a very good afternoon to Matt Young.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone. United seeking to end back-to-back defeats in what could be a